Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, a student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes for BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing happen on the Believe Podcast Network. And folks, it's always a fun time. It's almost as if you're sailing on a boat in a birthday party when we have Jaguars United own Jason Trent, famed Trevor Lawrence hater here on the show. Welcome, Mitch.
Not a Trevor Lawrence hater. I love the role that they got Trevor Lawrence in right now. It's beautiful. You didn't have to do anything. It's great.
I feel like I had to tell that joke so you could get the opportunity to say that to the Duval divers out there. Yeah. Because I have made that joke continuously ever since you trolled me in the comments, whatever it was, a number of episodes back. But you had the opportunity to clear the air about your lack of Trevor hate in question.
Yes.
What was it you said off air? We were talking about this, Travis, about the Trevor hate that Jason showed.
Hates Trevor like I hate the Jaguars. Like that's the comparison at the end of the day. Like obviously I don't, but that's the inside joke. But if you know the context, you got it. He's critical. He expects great things of Trevor Lawrence and he holds him to that standard. And there's that same way with the Jaguars. I am not going to allow for mediocrity. I'm here for it.
And speaking of the Duval divers, they were crowded in. It wasn't quite like a Lord of the Rings movie release, but there's some people that came in before the start. Robbie Sanchez in the comment, what up, gents? Good to see some grade A boot whooping to the Chargers last week in person. Yeah, and I think that's the point that we made on the Duval Dive Live, Travis, is that beatdown happened to a team with a relatively large win total for this time of year. Of course, the funny part is going from the ultimate high that the Duval Devout was facing and then dealing with the Bolt bureaucracy on Bolt Blitz Uncut in that instant reaction show, as well as last night when I was on with Booga Peters. But then, listen, the usual suspects are lining up. Shouts to PT in the building, PT phone home.
Let's go.
Of course, Robert's in the building. Hef, what's going on, guys? And hey, Robert's even shouting you out there.
Yeah, last night I had a fun show last night. I had one of my good buddies come over and we were it was off the rails a bit. Well, we'll just put it that way.
It was a great vibe check. I enjoy watching.
It was a good vibe check. That's a good way to put it. I like that.
This is why we talk about being on a boat, Jason, because if it's going to be off the rails, you might as well be in the water as well.
Right.
Anyways, enough of this silliness. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Now, Travis.
Oh, bear with me a moment. Bear with me one moment because I wanted to. I think I did owe the Duval about an apology, and I wanted to knock this out early before we get into the nitty gritty of the film, the data, and everything else. Talking about this interesting phenomenon we are seeing in the Jacksonville fan base that is called development. I think that's how you pronounce the word. Development. Yes, that. So. I think I owe y'all an apology. I've never been so happy to be wrong.
Thank you. It means a lot.
I've never been so happy to be wrong, but I just wanted to rewind this for a second.
I'm no longer gauging and grading on a curve. I'm no longer going with, hey, the coaching is going to improve the lack of, depth or the injuries that they're going through or whatever else. I'm just calling it as I see it. I do think the Chargers win this game 37-27. I think it's not close.
Stinky.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I appreciate the magnanimous nature you show and not showing me. I'm the dummy that had to blow out myself in favor of the Chargers, right? So no, we both blew that one, Chief.
Yeah, and I wanted to know what Jason's prediction was because it was one of the few times that Kyle and I both agreed on something pretty, unanimously that this was not going to be a close game and it was going to go in the favor of the Chargers, and it did not. Where were you landing on that?
I was trying to think about what I said, and I think if I remember correctly, I said Jaguars 35, Chargers 6. Trevor Lawrence would throw a touchdown, an interception, and Logan Cook wouldn't punt. I think I said that all that.
I'm doubtful.
So you're a genius. This is good. Mr. famed Trevor Lawrence hater said this is all exactly what was going to happen.
You know what? They're gonna take the ball out of his hands. They're gonna tote the rock. The offensive line is just gonna dominate, and we're gonna win the game handily. It's never gonna be a problem. And it just turns out I was right. Man. Just spot on. Actually, the exact number.
Jesus. All right, so it sounds like, and from my vibe check from the Big Cat Country comments, from the socials, and conversations and I guess we'll call it side snooping on Jason's channel, Jaguars United channel. For the most part, I think all of Duval kind of were in lockstep this past week that the Chargers were going to boat race the Jaguars, and the betting lines kind of matched up with that. Nobody had faith, and I think we all owe we all owe the most Duval devout, the devoutest of the Duvalians, an apology, because hey man, they found a way to get it done. And they got it done in a convincing manner. And if anybody actually got those betting odds, Jaguars plus what? I don't know, 29 or whatever the final spread was. Jesus, I don't even know what those odds would have gave. Those are Super Bowl odds at that point, bro.
Yeah, I mean, when you sack the quarterback, when you hit the quarterback and you create havoc, like a great writer once said, then you can really disrupt the game. And like it's just the defensive line came to play. The offense did what it had to do. I mean, really, the defense is the story for me. I mean, only giving up 6 points, not giving up a touchdown. I mean, I was like rewatching the game. I was there. Sometimes when you're there, you miss some stuff. So I was rewatching it, and I was like, man, I like the Chargers offense looked pretty good on that first drive, and then they looked pretty decent on the second drive, and then just after that, just fell off. So I think a bigger apology maybe to the Jaguars defense, who we all had kind of been like, they're terrible, and they really came to play last week.
I had said both on this show, Jason, and on the Bolt Blitz Uncut that if there was a week that we are to take the Jags defensive front seriously at all, it would. If they got stymied this week against the Charger O-line, I would have questions. As you said, this does not happen. And by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't stick to my hallmark: one penalty. One penalty. To me, that's the biggest deal of the thing. I had to say it in there and get that in there. I will step back out of the way. Travis, what are we looking at here first? I know we got some questions in the comments. We'll get to those in a second. But
So from my perspective, it's nearly impossible to give this coaching staff too much credit for the performance that they just kind of put on film right there. Because as I said, entering the game after the bye week, I was no longer going to grade them on a curve. I was not going to assume it was going to get better, quote unquote, magically. Like I needed to see these guys show that on-field development. I needed to see guys stop committing these penalties and stop committing these drops and all these things. And it happened. So at that point, then I do owe credit to that coaching staff. I owe credit to those guys. Like they were missing Jordan Lewis, Brian Thomas Jr., Britton Strange, Anton Harrison, Hunter Long, Greg Newsome early in the game. Travon Walker in the second quarter ended up leaving until the middle of the third quarter. So basically missed a quarter of the game. Geez, like you're missing all those guys, and you find a way to get it done, and you ain't just get it done a little bit. You got it done convincingly. That deserves the accolades. So yeah, if I'm the same one that says I'm not going to grade you on the curve, then I'm absolutely going to give you some bonus points when you show up in a dominated fashion in a way that none of us saw it coming.
Yeah,
we didn't.
Completely fair. Yeah,
I mean Liam Cohen's just play design, even on the plays that didn't work, dude. Like it was just like this. That's the Liam Cohen we all kind of thought we were going to get when we hired him. We were like, okay, now that's the guy right there, because there was some plays,
those toss cutbacks,
the throwback that Trevor missed to Quentin Morris. That play was beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, it was a well designed game plan by Liam Cohen.
I got into an argument with one of my guys saying that was easily his worst throw of the game. It was actually a hilarious argument to say, hey, now that we won, we can get all the good stuff out of the way. What was the worst throw of the game? And it became a good 10-minute just funny conversation of talking about the bad stuff because you won. You're feeling good about it. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But that was my nominee because Trevor on the move with the 5-7 yards short into the outside was just like, oh man. But it was a great.
It wasn't even close. It wasn't even close.
I'll ask this question. By the way, I appreciate you getting your Trevor hate in, so the joke is still nice and fresh as we keep using it as the season goes on.
I hold people accountable, just like I'll hold y'all accountable. That's what I do. Okay.
Thanks.
No, yeah, legit. And in the interest of holding people accountable, PJ Brown in the comments, interesting question. I heard you mention Jordan Lewis being hurt. He says, question for y'all: will they let Jarian keep starting when Jordan comes back? And same, of course, for Antonio Johnson. Fellas, thoughts?
Yeah, you got it.
I think Jordan Lewis is an instant starter the second he gets back. The dude's got a C on his jersey. He plays lights out. I mean, he's a guy you want back. Like, even if Jarian is playing at a really high level, he's a guy you want back in that roster, and you find a way to get Jarian back in. Now, Antonio Johnson, I look forward to hearing Travis's thoughts on this, because if we're talking about people I've hated on, Antonio Johnson's up there. Okay, he's up there. And he has been playing pretty well. I mean, I wouldn't be crushed if he was starting. I think you're going to see him probably at a level of play that matches about where everyone else would be. So I'd be okay
starting
with
over
it.
Who?
I mean,
that's the question.
I mean, there was plays when they had like Ray Lane and Antonio Johnson out there. I was like, okay, so I mean, it's probably over Dewey.
That's my only question is I'm good with Eric Murray. If Eric Murray returns from IR, then that's not a question for me. So then my only question is, are you arguing for Antonio Johnson over Dewey? And if that is the case, then that's fine. I don't think that's a hard argument based on how Dewey's played, but I'm just verifying.
I mean, do you think Antonio Johnson has? I mean, I know, I don't know. Like, when I think of Dewey Wingard, I think of him as a more rangy defensive back, but he hasn't shown that this year. And Antonio Johnson has always shown a lack of range, but he's got a bunch of interceptions. So I don't really know what to think or feel right now, to be honest.
I think it's funny because it's opponent dependent, right, gentlemen? Like, I think there's an element of, like, you know, I'll use two teams where Liam Cohen and his staff showed opponent dependent things, right? Travis Hunter played a lot of snaps against a Bengals team on defense, played a lot fewer against the 49ers, that kind of example, right? One team that's more rugged, one team that's more inclined to air it out. I think you might see a similar kind of concept with these safeties potentially, depending on who's out there, whether they go AJ or Dewey.
Man, I think it's fine. But again, I mean, to the original commenter's point, I think Dewey probably doesn't have as long to start. And especially if Antonio continues to make plays, whether or not they're plays that he made because he broke on a ball or something like that, or he just was in the right position to make the interception, that's fine. But he almost had a second interception in his game on a deflected pass from Dewey that hit him in the chest. Like, he almost had two. And then this will be a much stronger argument to say, oh, no, he definitely needs to be in the ball game because he's getting picks. But
that throw by Herbert was just atrocious. The interception.
It really was.
Yeah, I mean,
it was. But he was, 81 yards is his career worst game. It was a game from hell. And I blame BJ Green for that game from hell. And we're going to get into it in a second. But first, I have a reason. I promise you. And I need to take everybody back because I had to have this exact conversation with my brother-in-law. And we had to kind of walk through my thought process of why I think these young guys deserve all the accolades this week. And that's why the title of this podcast is what it is, right? So Kyle and I we argued that this victory was sort of a blueprint victory for the Jaguars because it kind of spotlights who they want to be: run the ball, defense, opportunistic, all the cliches that we've heard throughout the offseason, right? But my biggest point away was kind of like this is more of a turning point because it showed the on-field development and production from the trenches. Like, that's just not something that we've seen in Jacksonville, I don't think, since Dave Caldwell's days, maybe even before that. So I guess that's where I'm at. Like, with Doug Peterson's teams, it was always one guy gets hurt in any of the position groups and everything falls off. The pyramid just falls down. But I'm just kind of wondering, am I too much in the moment? Is this just a one-game sample size that's making me feel a little too high, or is there some, there's something there. There's some there. I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out from you guys.
I mean, best game from the trenches all around. We haven't. There's a chance, right? What do coaches always say? Don't get too high, don't get too low. There's a chance that maybe we need to operate somewhere in the middle, right? We're not as bad as we've seen in the past when this D-line couldn't get a hand on the quarterback. We're not as good as they were last week when you're rotating guys in and they're flying around the ball. I think we live somewhere in the middle because you're not going to get the level of play you got from, you talk the way Cole Van Lanen was playing. I mean, Ezra Cleveland came back and played probably the best game of the season from Ezra Cleveland. And it's like, are you going to get that every game? I don't know, but I sure hope so. That's for sure.
Well, we've touched on this too, Jason. Here's my theory is that the opponent matters and has mattered as far as who's dominant in the trenches and who isn't, right? Let's keep in mind that the past four weeks, you have either had one of the better pass rushers in the league or one of the better defensive lines in the league lining up across from that O-line versus vice less so in other games leading up to that point, right? So I think the answer is, to your point, not too high, not too low, somewhere in the middle. And the defense, like I said, if you can't beat up on that Chargers O-line after what you did to the Texans, especially, who you gonna beat up on, man? You know.
But on both lines, I do feel that they actually played pretty well, pretty dominant, not just beating up on the Chargers O-line, but also the offensive line dominating them up front. And the Jaguars have done that to multiple teams. So I'm not going to pretend that hadn't happened early in the season. It just hadn't happened recently and consistently. So they've been a little bit of a roller coaster ride trying to figure out where that landed. But I mean, just starting on the defensive line for the Jaguars, like Emmanuel Ogbah was made inactive this week. Last week they had Austin Johnson inactive. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with that pass rush to get some additional juice. The Young Bucks gave the team juice. Like, there's no question here. Like, the Young Bucks, the Danny Strigo, the BJ Greens, they came ready to play. And like, I think folks are kind of missing this. So I want to run it back just for a second. Just give me 30 seconds to kind of walk through this. It was the start of the second quarter. The Jaguars were up 7-3. Danny Strigo gets his half sack on first down with Trevon Walker. That was the start of the second quarter, right? 7-3 ball game, 4-point game. That drive results in the punt. Then with 3 minutes left in the half, the score was 14-6. Trevon Walker was limping off the field, and the Chargers immediately got a 30-yard pass on the next down. They were in field goal range, right? BJ Green, on fourth down of that same drive, ends up putting power driving Justin Herbert, basically shut the door on that whole drive. That's a 14-6 halftime score. The two undrafted free agent defensive linemen balled out on limited snaps, and that's what secured the win from my perspective, because coming out of the half, the Jaguars offense, the Jaguars defense, etc., they just boat raced those guys after halftime while it was a game early on. That's why I stand that this should be the storyline of the game, and I'm shocked that it hasn't been for much of the media. Am I right? Am I off? How do you guys feel about that?
I don't think I've seen I think you're right. I don't think I've tangibly been able to see with my own eyes a team like visibly play angry like I saw on Sunday. Like, that's such like a term that gets thrown around. Oh, they're playing angry. They're playing mad. They're playing with their backs against the wall. You saw that team play angry last week. Like, it was like, oh, they have that in them. And I think that's what's giving Jags fans a lot of hope, because it's like, oh, it wasn't like the Chargers were terrible and making a bunch of mistakes. I mean, they made some, obviously, but it wasn't like they just like crapped the bed. The Jags came out and just dominated. And if they can figure out a way to harness that and play like that every week, now we got something.
That was the Jamal St. Cyr question to Liam Cohen. Like, how can you make that be every week? How can you, because Liam Cohen in his postgame said, you guys play so well pissed off. And that's what Jamal was asking, is like, hey, how can you harness that pissed offness? Is there a way to make you guys pissed off every week? Like, how do you get that from your guys when you're the favorites and not when you're the underdog? And that's the question for this team, because they've consistently shown when we're being hunted, we don't have that same edge as when we are the ones that's like not being believed in by the fan base, not being believed in by the national media, etc. And I don't know how you get that. Like, I mean, Nash, you've played ball. Like, I don't know how you build that within a culture from the top down, even. Like,
no, and that's tough. I'm hearing the argument I'm hearing you make, though, is should the Jags make the playoffs and continue to build on the Chargers game, the MVP for the season for the Jacksonville Jaguars is, in fact, Davis Mills. If he does not construct that comeback and get the Jags pissed off, this isn't a thing. I said what I said.
Interesting. I mean, for the long term, you're not wrong, because if you keep winning, you're going to get complacent in those victories. But no, let's get into it. When we've been talking around these guys, and generally and vaguely around these guys for a second. But let me give you the numbers. All right. Because folks, when I say they deserve the accolades, I think the undrafted free agents, the other guys, the lesser known people that you probably weren't thinking about when the season starts, need their flowers. So let's talk about them. Danny Strigo was the first one. Obviously, he had his half set with Trevon Walker, but he also had an additional pressure on just 6 dropbacks. That's a 33% pressure rate. on very few snaps. I believe he had like 15 snaps in the whole game. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy. That's very good production from an undrafted free agent rotational guy. Cool. But BJ Green, bro. BJ Green. I had to show the play because the play is just so great.
Travis Holmes.
Yeah, show don't tell. But BJ Green, like I said, he shut the door on the half and all the ways. He had this man booty in the air on national television in front of his friends and family. Like, obviously, if you know anything about Bill Goldberg, like, he is out there planting dudes like he worked for the Arbor Foundation. This is great. As a Jaguar fan, I loved every second of it. And I got all the same feelings like this was WWE. But no, man, BJ Green,
like the Arbor Foundation.
That one got me.
Gloss over that.
That one got me. That one got me too. That one got me too. I'm not gonna lie.
So I think folks need to give BJ Green credit for a sack, even if the official stats don't. Okay, so I think I might be the only one making that argument. I don't care.
Are you gonna give him to Trevon Walker too?
I'm saying, ooh, that's a hard. That's an interesting one. I don't know.
I didn't hear what you said.
Are you gonna give those sacks to Trevon Walker as well?
Well, we're talking about an undrafted free agent. Just hear me out for a second. We're trying to figure out who's that fourth guy going to be on those third down and obvious passing situations, right? All right, cool. BJ Green then had, from my mind, 1 sack and additional pressure. He only had 5 dropbacks in the game. He was only in the game for 5 dropbacks. He had a 40% pressure rate and 2 run stops in his only 2 run plays in the game. Wow. Right. So if I give you the small sample size and tell you everything that he did, and I give you the small sample size and tell you everything Danny Strigo did, yo, they obviously need more reps. I don't care if it's going to be just 15 reps in the game, 20 reps in the game. They obviously have earned that in that small sample size when we've seen guys struggle in that position, whether it's Emmanuel Ogbah, whether it's Austin Johnson, occasionally whether it's even Smoot or any of the other guys, and Colin Saunders, no longer on the roster. They've been looking for another pass rush guy, and they finally get that production. I don't feel like I'm too much in the moment to say these dudes obviously deserve more snaps. Now, I don't know what that number is going to look like, but that's what one of my guys told me. Hey, man, you're too in the moment because I think you still should just give them 10 snaps a game. And I'm like, how do you land there? I don't get that. So
I got to jump in with this, and I'll let you have it. But I have to defend both of us here. Like, I remember we got mocked by a particular take we had about a certain senior Jaguar player that was asked to return. And now Travis over here pounding the table for snaps for BJ Green and Danny Strigo, trying to refute the Smoot. Interesting turn of events. Hey, turns of tabled, right, Jason?
That's actually funny.
Well, I mean, that's why we call him talking out of both sides of his mouth, Travis, because you never know what take you're gonna get. You never know what mood you're gonna get. So you just gotta roll with it. No, I'm just kidding, Travis. I love you, but I guess the question for you, Travis, and this would be probably what the people were saying is like, do you take Trevon Walker and Hines Allen off the field to give them more snaps? I mean, I understand there's situations where you want a third D-end, but if that third D-end situation is 10 snaps a game, are we gonna manufacture snaps for them by taking those guys off?
Well, if you're talking pass rush snaps, though, it won't matter. Like even in this game, they pushed Trevon Walker inside. Like they had multiple different pass rush groups.
Yeah.
So it's fine if you want to push Trevon Walker inside. It's fine if you want to push Josh Hines Allen inside and then allow him to stunt back outside because he's so good at bending the edge anyways. It will work out just fine overall if you want to just give yourself that blitz package or that NASCAR package. I guess that's what they used to call it. That's fine.
Point,
at the end of the day, you're just trying to find ways to get this pressure because it's not you haven't been able to so consistently this season, and you finally get a little bit of it. You got to figure out a way to make it work.
Manufacturing ways to get Mason Smith on the field is what I'm hearing.
Mason Smith has had all the snaps on the field. The snaps ain't the issue. You got to close the door. You got these rookies who led the. No, well, you had BJ Green who was leading in the preseason at one point in pressures. And then he finally gets an opportunity in the regular season. Looks pretty good. Danny Strigo still looks pretty good. If all the evidence we have looks generally good, you are then a bad leader, or you are then a bad leadership group if you just lean away from that and don't try to find you don't try to give that an opportunity to see what you have there. Like, obviously, I don't think that's what these guys are. So if you show me in that small sample size that they have maybe something, you at least got to try, right? I don't think I'm crazy to say that.
You aren't crazy to say that. I'm seeing at least 5 commenters that have agreed with the Trayvon inside take. Go ahead, Jason.
And again, just like soundboarding off you guys, is it a bad idea to move Trayvon? I mean, I get it. It makes sense on paper, get your best players on the field. Is it a bad idea to move Trayvon Walker inside because he's been our most productive edge rusher? And are we now taking away maybe a strength of our team to get these undrafted rookies snaps? Like, again, just thinking out loud, is that a bad idea? I understand the packages argument, but like, again, that's like 10 snaps, like maybe 12. I mean, if we're looking at,
you had one guy that played 15, you had the other guy that played 6. So you are still really talking 20 snaps a game overall between the two of them. Realistically, I don't think it's crazy.
And to your point, the X factor is Trayvon Walker's health and how it's been limited too. Yeah, so I think that's an element.
Sure. I mean, he's been our best. He's been probably one of our best defenders outside of Devin Lloyd, and playing that edge, playing outside shoulder of the tackle. He's been disruptive. And I mean, again, you give him those sacks that were the roughing the passers. You look at what he's done against the run. You look at his ability to get into the backfield. I don't know if I want to mess with that. Like, it's working. Like, I might be okay leaving him there, which is now the elephant in the room. Josh Hines Allen getting paid all that money.
Define working,
funny. When you said working, that's exactly what Nash just said is exactly where my head immediately knee-jerk reaction went. Is you say it's working when the Jaguars are in the basement on sacks before this past game. That's not working for me. Now I know he's been injured, obviously.
You know what? I think I know there's a certain comic book that Jason reads. That's what
Listen, I'm not a pressures guy. I don't even care about analytics. I go off the eyeball test. And again, you're going to give BJ Green the credit for the sack that he didn't get credit for. You got to give him to Trayvon Walker too, right? And he got there. He made the plays. Those were explosive plays he made. Yeah. And like, again, he has been limited by injury. Just eyeball test, and I'm not making an argument for it working for the whole D line. I'm making an argument for that's working for Trayvon Walker in that 5-7-9 technique. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that to me is working. So I just don't know if I would mess that up. I guess. I mean, maybe, but like,
that was literally the argument my guy Brian made earlier this afternoon when we talked about it. And my only thing is, I've been arguing forever that the Jaguars need to move Trayvon Walker around, and sometimes that includes giving him those easier, less athletic guards who, maybe he may be able to use a little bit more of his pass rush repertoire that he actually does have on those guys who maybe have a little bit worse footwork. And that was my only thought process. Is we are, I think, a little bit scared in the Duval devout fan base to allow Trayvon to move and see what he can do against this other area, because we've seen him pretty religiously be good at power on the outside, right? Like, I think that's a fair landing spot where you are. But I'm more like Trayvon Walker, not Trayvon Walker, freaking Hutchinson in Detroit, 8 on most of his sacks coming from these less athletic guards. And I was begging for the Jaguars to do that with Trayvon Walker. And now we are in a situation where we might be able to do that. And you guys will be like, nah, let's leave him outside because it might work out well, maybe, but not for the whole defense, just for Trayvon. Like, I'm just trying to figure out the best unit, if that makes sense.
It's the right question, Jason. I think it's a situational thing. I know we're coming up on that 8:00 mark. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to hit before you rolled, my friend.
Whew.
Jason,
he's talking about you, Jason. I mean, if you're good,
me.
Yeah, we're coming up on the 8:00 mark. I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to hit topic wise. I know.
I got till like 8:27. I'm good.
Oh,
go.
Yeah.
In other words,
right, cool.
Yeah. I think we did very nicely on here, and I listen. I'm seeing a lot of different things here that I want to bring up too. Travis, I don't know if it's time to start talking about Quentin Morris or what, but he's certainly.
We can get down there again. I want to talk about every single one of these guys. So that's what tonight's about. Talking about these undrafted free agents or the guys who didn't get the recognition. Tim Patrick, I know he didn't have this crazy explosive game, but he had the touchdown and he had a lot of strong blocks on the edges. If you were to watch any of those like longer explosive plays in the run game. You got Antonio Johnson. We already talked about him, so he's good. Like, he had his interception, nearly had the second one and hit him off the doggone chest. Then another guy you just weren't expecting big things of, Kristen Dang Braswell. Christian Braswell, bro, played 30 passing snaps, including the penalized plays, and he allowed 0 completions with a team high 76.2 coverage grade per Pro Football Focus. I know guys might hate those grades, whatever. Next Gen Stacks had him at 1 catch given up for 8 yards because they considered the second quarter Keenan Allen quick out to be against them. He was like 7 yards back in his coverage.
That was
whatever.
A scheme issue, not a coverage one. Yeah,
it's a 39.6 passer rating when targeted. That's what Christian Braswell gave up when Jordan Lewis got hurt early in the game, and he played basically the entire game off the bench cold. Bro, Braswell did his thing in this one, and I had the tape. Only reason I didn't want to bring it in because I didn't want to bring the tape for every single one of these guys. I got excited watching this game film as a DB, and I just didn't know what to do with it because I'm like, it's a good problem to have. We just hadn't seen much from him this season, so I didn't know if you saw anything on film, Jason, when you were watching. I mean, you're former DB, you know.
There's one thing I always say. It's give me a corner out of Rutgers. You know, that's one thing I always say. You know, those guys just know how to play. Yeah, I mean, you got to give him credit because he played outstanding. I mean, you could bring up stats like that for every player on the team just because of how dominant we are. You could look at Herbert's passer rating against this DB. You could look at the win rate against a D lineman. You could look at tackling rate for a linebacker. Like every statistical category when you look in the analytics is going to be awesome. I like Christian Braswell. I always get worried with him because I've seen a lot of Christian Braswell. Not to say that players can't develop. Listen, I'm all for development of players. I just like to, I just like to be careful before we start crowning a guy like an instant starter. Not saying that's what you're doing. We're just giving him his flowers. Right. I think he deserves.
I think there's an element of him being the defensive Parker Washington, possibly, right? We've seen him do well in preseason scenarios. He's developing. I love using your word there. By the way, all the things that you always say, have you considered coming out with writing fortunes for a line of teal fortune cookies? I think that'd be perfect for you. Jason always says it'd be great. Anyways,
that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
So you thought I was just joking, like planting dudes out of the Arbor Foundation? No,
I like that idea.
Anyway.
I send Travis a little inspirational text every morning, so I could just use those and put them in the fortune cookies.
You could send a teal digital fortune cookie. Yeah. I want royalties, Jason Trent.
Inspirational text. Why you hiding lying to these people?
No, but I see that juxtaposition with Parker Washington in him. That's kind of where
that's a curious one because I would even argue that that's a harder one. There's a lot of depth players that's kind of performing at a higher level simply because this organization has been true to their original word that they were going to open the door for more opportunities for you guys to compete, to actually have real open competitions. And the players are kind of just stepping into that. Like, I don't want to say that that's unique to this organization because the last guys did that too. They gave significant snaps to Miles Dane Cole and Jeremiah Ledbetter and a lot of others who just didn't work out. So I want to be clear in saying that, like, they did it too. So some of that's going to have to come back to coaching and the fact that these guys are actually stepping up and they are being put into better positions to succeed in these defensive schemes and everything else. But again, Christian Braswell played great. I'm not going to say that means he's going to be the next starting cornerback and the next Jalen Ramsey and all this other stuff. You got to go crazy to be like, hey, man, that dude did good. Yep. That might be something. Let's just write that down and keep it moving if that makes sense. Like, I feel like that's reasonable.
Do you feel like
Cole Van Lannon? You said Cole Van Lannon earlier, though.
Yeah.
You were sounding like you were maybe a little bit questionable on that. How do you feel about his game?
I've loved Cole Van Lannon. I mean, I thought a big thing for me is that all the words, and you know this better than me, Travis, everything coming out from the coaches about this guy has always been positive. Even before he was on the field, the coaches have just loved this guy. When they realized they needed to go to that tackle over look, whether it was to try to get an advantage on the Rams and try to bring a bye week little trickery out there, and then they kind of stuck with it. That tackle over role, I thought he did a great job. And then comes in for Anton Harrison, does a fantastic job, does such a good job that some people are even talking about, do you make a change on the offensive line? So, I mean, that's how well he played. That's a different level than Christian Braswell. No one's talking about Braswell taking over a starting job for somebody. People are talking about Cole Van Lannon getting into that starting spot in the starting five.
Well,
I've been
especially
wanting to.
getting
That's actually
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of my conversations that's on the schedule for tonight, and I didn't know. I hope you have time to have it. Basically, is because we still got to get through the rest of these guys, and that's the craziest part about this. Cole Van Lannon surrendered just one pressure, just so y'all know. He only surrendered one pressure per Pro Football Focus, and they had him rated as the Jaguars' second best pass protector in the game with a 78.6 rating, behind only Ezra Cleveland, who was both dominant in the pass and the run on Sunday, and Tui Polo to the Chargers. Tolopu. Yep, exactly. Gotcha.
I did it on the booklet the other night. Damn it!
He had 8 sacks on the season, and he came in and did nothing. And I think that was absolutely a tip of the cap to Cole Van Lannon. Like, he did a little bit of chipping, but for the most part, he came in and he had his Wheaties and he had a great game. So I got no issue with that. I still do want to have that conversation about the offensive line, because I think that's an Anton Harrison conversation is huge, as is that Walker Little conversation and how that kind of overlaps and intertwines. But
it's already happened in the comments, Travis. Yeah,
it really is. I'm sure it is. But Quentin Morris, you wanted to talk about Quentin Morris, so I want you to say, I got this little highlight film right here, so let's talk about it. Sure. What were your thoughts on Quentin Morris's play on Sunday, sir?
I mean, listen, you saw the way the ball was run and what dominance took place. Maybe there wasn't as much passing as there would have been with Brenton Strange, but there was some of those running plays that went to the outside, and so many of them went to the outside with Bashal Tootin, which you can't do without quality tight end play. And yeah, that the Quentin Morris element there is a huge part of it. Maybe not folding dudes like PJ Green, but getting out there, being just a stopper, and actually some of these holes that we're seeing here on the screen, which, by the way, if you're not watching it on the Duval Dive YouTube channel, make sure you do so. But yeah, some of these huge holes that are being created aren't just from O-line dominance, but from Quentin Morris finally coming off of the injury list and onto the field, man. I don't know what more I can add to that.
Did you have any thoughts on his play, Jason?
He's to me solidifying himself as who they wanted Long and Munt to be. He's just doing it better, because when you look at their skill sets, Quentin Morris is essentially the same skill set as them. I mean, Brenton Strange is the only guy that has any type of pass catching ability. And with him not on the field, it's been, really handicapping the Jaguars offense. So it obviously wasn't working the way Liam Cohen wanted it to with Munt and Long. I thought that they are serviceable for what they do. But I think that when you have those, if you think about if Strange comes back and you get in the 2 tight end sets, those 22 personnels, those 21 personnel, or those 12 personnels, things like that, that could be kind of scary for teams stopping the run. And you factor in Strange being able to kind of release and on those plays, and the connection that Lawrence has with Strange, and that could be the thing that unlocks this Jags offense potentially.
I've said it since the Jaguars game against the Rams that I thought I was waiting for the day the Jaguars had 3 healthy tight ends, because after the Rams spammed the Jaguars with 13 personnel with 3 tight end sets, that half of that game, they've done it 3 weeks in a row to the rest of the NFL, to the point where everybody's talking about it, because they're like, dude, this dude's going crazy. Sean McVay's going crazy, and how it's changed their whole offense. And I'm like, dude, at that exact moment in time, Brenton Strange is not available on the roster, and then Hunter Long gets hurt, and the Jaguars can't run it. But that's his mentor. That's Liam Cohen's mentor. Like, that as soon as Brenton Strange is healthy, as soon as Hunter Long is healthy, and they got all these guys available, there's 0% chance that we're not going to see an uptick in 3 tight end sets here in Jacksonville. As dominant as they are trying to be with running this ball, they've been doing the 6 offensive linemen. We've seen an uptick in that in the last few weeks. So. So at this point, it seems very clear to me that, we're going to see more of these 3 tight end sets once Brenton Strange is, activated from his 21-day, so that's coming. To your point, 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, whatever it's going to be. I think it's coming for sure. So they can try to continue running the ball. And Chuma Edoga, the name that a lot of people seem to hate. Y'all don't like Chuma since that penalty with 7 seconds ago, and what was that, the Texans game?
Yeah.
yeah, I know folks don't love Chuma, but Chuma's been playing like he's been playing well enough that I think it deserves to be at least mentioned. He in the run game, he is good. He's consistently been good in the run game since the preseason. On the Robert Hainsey going crazy touchdown play, you know the one. You know the one with Hainsey sitting on the ground. If you're listening on a podcast, you know the play I'm talking about. You got Adoga dancing before the play's even over. You got Robert Hainsey on the ground after pancaking the dude at the goal line, and he is out here just flexing on him. Like that is shout out to Action Sports Jats for that video. It takes me back to the 49ers game when you had, again, Robert Hainsey and Chuma Edoga out there pancaking dudes 15 yards down the field. It's the exact same thing. Chuma's always been strong in the run game, which is why he's historically the 6th offensive lineman. It's just his pass game sometimes can be a little bit wonky. His footwork can get a little slow in, pass protection. So I want to give him his flowers that he is one of those guys who played well enough to allow this run game to be as dominant as it is. And even though we may never say he's the starting caliber tight end or he's the top tight end in the league, I think he definitely deserves his flowers because this run game probably isn't what it's supposed to be without him. Well, I don't know if y'all agree, but whatever.
He did his job in this game. I don't think anybody's going to argue that, but we already mentioned the penalty stat, and that's the reason why he was a big factor. You cannot be going out there on an unbalanced line and then get a foul. You can't do it. I don't care what game it happened or whatever. That is humiliating, or at least it should be. For an offensive lineman for that. You have the opportunity to take on a smaller dude and you blow it by going offsides. Jason, I'm sorry. That's just where I live.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, I was going to bring that up and I think someone in the chat did too. It's not, and it's not an issue of
mostly in the pass game.
It's
footwork.
A lot of, I say this so much. Every player in the NFL is good. They all are, regardless of what y'all think, regardless of whatever. They're all good. We need ones that'll be consistent. The ones that are consistently good are the ones that we all think of as like starter caliber, all pro caliber, Pro Bowl caliber. And it's great to see Adoga do it in this game. It's great to see all these guys you're mentioning. Like, I'm with you on that. But what makes players elite is seeing them do it week after week after week after week. So I'm all for giving them their flowers, but I'm definitely a wait and see type guy just because, the guys that they're replacing, we've seen them be more consistent than we've seen these guys be. And for me, that's the name of the game is consistency. That's why I'm a Trevor hater. It's not on his skill. It's on his consistency. Okay. Insanely talented quarterback, just inconsistent. Okay. So that's where I'm at. I'm at with all these guys. Cole Van Lannon, that's why I gave him a lot of props, is he's, to me, been the most consistent guy of this group we've talked about.
Side note, 42
at tackle.
Jason admits to being a Trevor hater. There you go.
I'll be whatever I need to
clip
be.
it.
I'll be whatever I need to be.
You heard it there, folks. Clip it and put it on the socials. That's it. Cole Van Lannon is pretty consistent, especially at tackle. That's why he was the swing tackle even in the preseason for this team. It's just when they put him at guard, it might be a little bit of a problem. Like, I think they really missed Ezra Cleveland in that second Houston Texans game. And I think him being back, well, obviously he was dominant in this game, but it was the fact that Cole Van Lannon wasn't your left guard. So I think, he's good enough to be an adequate guard of Cole Van Lannon, but at tackle, he's a much better player. And I think there's no question there. So to that conversation, I will push it back just one person because I still do want to talk about Bashaw Tootin. And I know folks were like, wait a minute, what do you mean Bashaw Tootin? He's not depth in what world? Your starting running back is Travis Etienne, Mr. 19 carries, but this was the coming out party.
I'm pretty sure I remember Bashaw Tootin taking snap one.
Woo! Look at
pretty sure I remember snap one of the offense. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing 33 out there.
So snap one makes you the starter, even though the other guy may get 90% of the snaps. But snap one, that's the one that matters, right?
That matters. That's a starter.
All right, so Trevor Lawrence has to use the bathroom at the start of the game when the national anthems are played, and then
Nick starter, baby.
He's a starter. That's how this works.
No, we go Wildcat. We go Wildcat. We got Wildcat.
Etienne is the starting quarterback.
No, okay, Jason just made Bashaw Tootin the starting quarterback too. Holy snap!
We got Wildcat in the bag, boys. We don't even need Trevor Lawrence. You've seen him out there.
All right. So Bashaw balled out of control in this one, and I think the fantasy football community all just kind of lost it. I mean, they rightfully so. He was that sledgehammer against this team. Like Travis Etienne kind of had a lot of the explosive plays. Bashaw Tootin nearly burst, 4 5 long runs that he just kind of kept getting tripped up at the end. I love the fact that, to Jason's earlier point, those toss cutbacks, making those linebackers slow down so they can't like hit the gaps. So you're making them choose whether or not you have this guy that runs a 4-3, whether or not he's going to sprint to the sideline or whether or not he's going to stay inside and let that guy just outrun you to the sideline. Like, it's a very smart thing to put on film for only that reason, because now guys have to practice discipline and how they're hitting those holes or hitting those gaps early, or otherwise Bayshaw's going to rip one very soon. I think I agree with you that though Cohen, he went into his bag a little bit on this one, and I think it was kind of impressive from that perspective on my part, at least.
I've always liked those, I guess, power tosses, for lack of a better word. I've always liked those because for those of you that, and Nash would know this, and, but it's not common knowledge to everybody. The reason why a lot of coaches do like taking snaps under center is because it gives your running back like downhill momentum when they get the ball. If you hand it to them in shotgun, then they have to get their momentum going as the defense knows it's already a run play. When you run these little power tosses, you're kind of simulating that downhill momentum, but you aren't like dedicating to one gap and then forcing the running back to make a cutback if it's there. You're giving him the chance to read the gap. You're giving him the chance to see what's open. So I really like it. I'm surprised it's taken this long to do it. But listen, you can't bash them for that, because they're doing it. So I love that play design. When I first saw it on Sunday, I was like, let's go, boys. I was pumped.
I see an element too in some of these plays. You saw it during some of the show don't tell that Travis had there, where the splits by the defense were so just aggressively small.
Mm-hmm.
That's also susceptible to that toss. So there's something in the tendency that was read there and found out that Liam Cohen took advantage of. Say what you will, and Minter was not coming on that one. That's Jesse Minter is, of course, the Chargers defensive coordinator, who I always hear them complaining about on the Bolt Blitz Uncut, but that's a whole other question. Anyways,
we talked about that offensive line conversation. Now I'm not gonna. Well, I know you got to get out of here. So at least I got to add. Well, now he's talking about. Well, now they're talking about the run game, and now I'm like, well, dang it, I want to talk about that too. So if you guys haven't seen the run splits of how everything kind of worked out for the Jacksonville Jaguars, like we talked about the fact that Ezra Cleveland had a really good game. Also, Walker Little had a really good game on the ground, like just moving guys. A lot of the production for Travis Etienne came on that left side between, either outside of the tackle or right between Walker Little and Ezra Cleveland. But Robert Hainsey and also Patrick McCarry also had pretty good games as far as Bayshaw Tootin cutting those runs back. You saw 2 of them on that highlight film we just watched. Across the board, everybody seemed to be very well, dominant as far as on the run game, other than maybe Cole Van Landen, which I thought he was just pretty much average. Which is that's not a knock. It's just kind of they didn't run outside tosses very often to his side, and he didn't have a lot of production on that side of the ball. But I wanted to talk about what you kind of mentioned already. They played their best football with Ezra Cleveland on the ground. We already talked about the fact that they hurt without Ezra Cleveland in that second Houston Texans game. Similarly, they played their best football on the ground without Anton Harrison on the field for the 3rd time this season. And I say 3rd time this season because they had 124 yards on the ground against San Francisco when he left early in the second quarter. People forget that. That was Chuma Edoga in the game. They had the Fred Johnson stuff in the preseason when they were dominant, and we were like, Fred Johnson's really good at run blocking. He's just terrible at pass blocking, which is why he's not on the roster. But that still was saying he's better than Anton Harrison at run blocking. So when you said earlier, people are asking about Cole Van Landen, whether or not he's going to be your starting right tackle, and you're just going to figure out what you're going to move Anton to the left or whatever you want to do with that Walker Little situation. Where do you land on that is my question.
I think it's a great question. In a perfect world, you move Anton to left, and there's your easy answer right there. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. You got people like me out there running around that mess it all up for everybody. So that's why I've been a huge advocate for so long of getting Anton Harrison snaps at left tackle when it doesn't matter. I mean, back in the Doug Peterson era, I'm like, listen, put him over there in preseason. Put him over there. Like, you haven't done it. So have they done some things in the Miller Electric facility that we haven't seen? And they know, maybe, but I haven't seen anything. So for me to give you that, move him to left, I don't think it's as easy as people think. On paper, it sounds easy, but it's not. So I would love that. I would love that. It'd be hard for me to take Anton Harrison off the field because I do think he's a fantastic pass blocker. And when you need a play, you got to pass the ball a lot of times. Not every time, but a lot of times when you need a play, you got to pass it. And I do trust Anton a little bit more in the pass blocking game. But it's a great problem to have. If only they would have taken my advice for years and years and years when I said, put Anton over at left and let's see what he can do. Unfortunately, we haven't. So it's a tough question to answer, but it's a really good question.
I would remind the public at large of this, and this isn't me advocating for Walker Little so much as it is reminding a reality of why perhaps he isn't looking all that great. There is a universe, perhaps, where if you put Anton at left, he'll look like Walker Little, because if you're at left, you're inevitably taking on the toughest pass rusher typically that the other team has to offer. Anton looks great blocking. You don't even know who the other defensive end is in Cincinnati, but do you think he could stop Trey Hendrickson? I don't know. That's the question that would need to be rendered.
That's fair. But I would love to see it, though, because I do think objectively that Anton Harrison probably has better footwork or better feet work than Walker Little. I think so. He may, if everything works out, I think he would be a fine left tackle, because generally speaking, you want your left tackle to be your best pass protecting guy. And if you have a road grader that's able to block guys in the run game, you want that to be your right tackle. It makes sense, just philosophically. If you need to help out a guy, chip, and everything else with the running back and tight end, you want that to be your right tackle, not your left tackle. We're helping both guys right now as it currently stands, most weeks in Jacksonville. So that if that's truly the case, give me the guy who run blocks a little bit less at left tackle, and give me the guy who's a road grader at right tackle, and we can kind of just figure out where the help kind of needs to go against the other team's worst pass rushers, or maybe not their best pass rushers consistently.
Do you think that adage of the best pass rusher goes against the left tackle is a tad outdated? Just because, when you look at these DNs nowadays, they play strong side, weak side. So that's where the formation, that's where they're at on the field. So I don't think it's like it was back in the day.
It's not a law, but you've seen a lot of it, right? Walker Little has clearly had all the toughest matchups, right?
Yeah, I think it's more than 50% of snaps, and I think if you're going to help your quarterback more than 50% of the time, it's at least leaning towards benefiting your offense. Not to mention, if you have a right-handed quarterback, he sees the pressure coming from the right side. So that's if I want my weakest blocker to be in front of my quarterback so he can see what's coming, if that makes sense.
Good coaches do it that way, Jason. Just as an example, too often were the Cowboys putting Micah Parsons on that left side, put him on the other side some. Yeah. Just as an example. This is there's validity to what you're saying. Still the lion's share of snaps. Both you guys somehow are right, so both of you can pat yourselves on the back. But
and I know you got to get out of here because I know you got to get over to Club Jaguar, which is going to be kicking off in a few minutes. But we got a great playoff conversation that we got to have, because we got to take a look at what the standings look like and everything else. But I hope you enjoy those guys. And anything else you wanted to bring up before you hop out? I wanted to give you that space.
I just want to give you guys just so much praise for what you guys have been doing. You guys have been crushing it. I've been watching all your shows, reading all your articles, Travis, and you guys have just been crushing it. Your numbers have been blowing up, your views, your comments, all that. That's just a testament to hard work, testament to being good at what you do. So I just want to give you guys your flowers on that. So nice job, guys. I appreciate you having me on. I'm honored that you guys would ask me. I love it. Anytime you want me on, dude, I'll come talk Jags with you guys. So
even after all the trash, we talk on each other, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You guys know me. So I do love you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on, and good luck with the rest of your show.
Thanks,
yes, sir. Love you, bro.
Jason Trent, Jaguars United. You gotta love it. Some good conversations there, man. Heck, we're almost into the show for an hour here at this point.
We giving the fans overtime. That's what giving the people what they want.
Yeah, some free football, so to speak. No, I get it. But yeah, you mentioned a playoff conversation. I let's go ahead and jump to that, because I'm glad you had Jason leave. I don't want him to see me smoking crack here publicly in front of him like that.
Jesus, context, bro.
My crack
All right.
is take that they make the playoffs. That's
what he meant. Everybody, yeah, please, Lord. All right. So with Sunday's victory, the playoff race for both the AFC South and the final wild card is obviously heating up. Like if you know where the Jaguars stand, the Colts are first in the AFC South at 8-2. The Jaguars are 2 games behind them at 6-4. Obviously, with the 2 games against the Colts remaining and 2 games against the Titans remaining also. So they split with the Texans. Unfortunately, that left the door open for those jokers. But
temporarily.
So anybody who doesn't know how the tiebreakers work for the playoffs, hey man, is head-to-head is first. So if you beat the Texans, they split with the Texans in that situation. For those who don't know, the Texans are 1 game behind the Jaguars for that wild card spot right now. So the next tiebreaker would then be the best win-loss percentage in games played within the division. For anyone who is not aware, the Texans have actually played 4 AFC South games, and they're 3-1 in those AFC South games. So they won 75% of their AFC South games, whereas the Jaguars have only played 2 AFC South games, both against the Texans, and they split at 500. So if the Texans ended the season with the same record as the Jaguars, they actually would jump the Jaguars. So
today,
I think that's an interesting little point that most people haven't talked about. Because the Jaguars did lose that game and the Texans are only 1 game, not even a full game, basically behind the Jaguars because they have that second tiebreaker as it stands today. A lot of this season kind of rests on the Jaguars beating the Titans twice. And that sounds like a weird thing to say, but it's kind of true. It comes down to the AFC South performance. Again, the Jaguars are 7th in that final wild card spot with the Texans right behind them and the Chiefs right behind them. The Jaguars obviously have the tiebreaker over the Chargers because they beat them head to head, and they have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs because they beat them head to head, but they didn't beat the Houston Texans in that last game, and that may change how this bad boy looks. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot to it. I'm less worried about the Texans, but an element I think you're about to bring up is really what I want to talk about, because the naysayer would say, oh, but Travis, the Jags are still 2 games behind the Colts. That's a lot of ground to give up, and the Colts are so good. Oh, the good. Kyle said they wouldn't have 5 wins on the schedule. Boy, he got that wrong. Well, it's like, man, because it's about to show some context on why if the dang Indianapolis Colts were an SEC team, people would be complaining that they're a playoff contender. I said what I said, Travis.
So you guys, if you're looking on the Duval Dive YouTube, I mean, if you're listening on the audio, you won't know what we're looking at, but the gist of what we're looking at is that every single opponent for the remaining schedule for the Indianapolis Colts is a team that is above 500 or higher. I mean, the worst team record-wise that they have to play against as it stands are the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs, who are both 5-5. That's obviously a very difficult schedule remaining. The Colts, as it stands, I believe they have the easiest strength of schedule in the AFC, as far as the games that they played overall. But if you're looking at Tankathon, they have the 4th hardest remaining schedule right now in the NFL. Meanwhile, the Texans, who we were just talking about, have a reasonably hard schedule. I mean, again, they have 5 teams that are above 500 remaining out of their 7 games, with the 2 lesser teams being the Cardinals and the Raiders. But the Texans have the 6th hardest remaining schedule, and the Jaguars have the 28th hardest, or another way of saying the 5th easiest schedule left this season in the NFL, with only 3 games against teams above 500. So the Jaguars, obviously, even though you're 2 games back, you have those 2 games against the Titans. That's you're probably good right there, just because the Colts' remaining schedule is so difficult. And
context, Travis.
Yeah,
I feel compelled to point this out. The air quotes easiest games, the easiest air quotes 3 games remaining on the Colts schedule. I would argue, unless the Niners have another major injury somehow between now and the end of the season, is either the best defensive line in the league, arguably, or Patrick LaVon Mahomes II.
That's it.
Those are their 2 easiest remaining opponents.
So folks think that they're good. I hope you're right, because they're gonna have to prove it. They have a gauntlet they have to go through over these next 7 games, including the Jacksonville Jaguars, those Indianapolis Colts. Yeah. So if you think they're good, we gonna all find out together, because I thought that they were overrated, and I said so before the Pittsburgh Steelers game, and it kind of shown out. They were losing against the Arizona Cardinals with 4 minutes left in the game, and they won that game. Folks forget these things. They should have lost against Denver. Folks forget these things. Like, I'm just saying, hey, I don't think the Colts are as good as folks think they are. I just think they're a good running team, and if you can stop the run and hold JT under 100 yards, you'll probably have a good chance of winning, because you're going to force Daniel Jones to play quarterback, and it's not going to work out well outside of those deep balls. That's kind of where I land on it. We're going to see how it happens over these next 7 games, though. But I think the Jaguars have a reasonably strong shot of closing that gap on the Colts and kind of taking this thing down, as long as they win the game they're supposed to win. And that includes the Tennessee Titans.
Travis, I know this is a Jaguars podcast, but I'm going to say it publicly. Jonathan Taylor, MVP.
I mean, unfortunately, you're probably right. But again, he got 7 games to kind of prove that should be the case, because if he don't show up in these in these primetime games, I mean, you got games against the Chiefs, Seahawks, 49ers, and the last game of the season against the Texans.
Think about this. In that first half of the season, or I shouldn't say first half, up to this point, the Jaguars have played no fewer than 2 MVP candidates in Justin Herbert and John Matthew Stafford. Or Puka Nacua, if you want. Well, Puka Nacua wasn't on the field, so we got to say John Matthew Stafford, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jonathan Taylor on the back half as another MVP candidate. So for all the people that want to say the Jags had this easy schedule, that is not how it faced up. And then people were losing their minds at the possibility.
That's the offensive stuff. So you add the additional context that they've had 5 games against the top 5 teams in the NFL, allowing the least amount of points.
Oh my God.
The Houston Texans are first. The LA Rams are second. The Chiefs are third. The Broncos are, they will play the Broncos. I apologize. They haven't played them yet. The Broncos are fourth, and the Seahawks are fifth in the league in least points allowed. And they've had 5 games against those guys. They will have 6. That's crazy to me.
5 of the teams on or remaining on the Jaguars schedule are among the top 5 defenses in points allowed. That's wild.
Correct.
That's wild.
So that's my point, is like the Jaguar schedule absolutely did them no favors that we thought in the preseason that existed. So overall, I think the Jaguars have done phenomenally. If you're 6-4, now that we see what that schedule was, even the Carolina Panthers game was actually more difficult than we can now say. That team was better than what we thought it was, and that victory even feels a little bit better. No, man, I think they've done reasonably well, and I just hope that they can continue to put it together and not lose games that they should win, and folks will feel good about it at the end of the season. Yeah,
I don't think there's too much more to add to that.
Cool. I mean, if there's any other comments you want to hit to, I know we're over an hour, but we generally don't like to go, especially into those guys over. Head over to those guys over at Club Jaguar too. Get them guys some love. But
I Sunstain mentions here too. Best strength of schedule or strength of victory as well, according to that as well. So there you go.
Strength of victory. Let's see. So the Colts had the 6th easiest strength of victory. I don't have the Texans written down here. The Jaguars had the best strength of victory in the AFC. Yes, I don't know. I think they had the 3rd strongest in the NFL, behind the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. I remember it from earlier today.
Yeah, and then I mean, having the NFC West on your schedule ain't exactly a cakewalk. It's only
and the Giants had like 2 wins, I think, or something like that. So that's why their strength is. So you're really just saying they have the 2nd strongest strength of victory outside of the Eagles for teams that won more than 2 games. So I think you're not wrong. The Jaguars have actually done some impressive things. It's just they're inconsistent, which is the trait of a young team generally.
Fair enough. I'll say this, and I've seen a couple Patriots comments, so I'll say this quickly. Patriots had a cupcake schedule too, but they beat the Bills and Buccaneers. Did that open any eyes? No, not for me, because I'm going to call it what it is. Mike Vrabel, to the joy of the Duval devout, Mike Vrabel should never have been fired in Tennessee. I said it then, and now I'm looking real smart. That's all I can say about that, Travis D. Holmes.
I mean, well, the Bills haven't been the Bills this year. Like in a lot of ways, the Bills haven't played well. They've been very inconsistent. I mean, I used to call them Bitcoin in its offseason. The Bills are very much like Bitcoin, and the Buccaneers have been ridiculously injured. So, like, even talking about the Bucs, when they lost Bucky Irving and they lost like a few of the guys on their defense, it was just like, all right, they're not the normal Bucs because their depth is being tested right now. So I get it. Yeah, the Packs still have had it. That's like saying the Jaguars game against the San Francisco 49ers was a dominant victory, and then you remember who all they were missing. Like, I mean,
they had a line outside the injury tent.
Don't judge the helmet, right? Like, don't tell me the team they played against. Show me who was playing in the game. That's different. But yeah, y'all gonna try to get me going again, man. We trying to let y'all get some sleep or go and listen to some Club Jaguar, all the nighttime activities, man. Let them know where you can be found, bro.
I say, well, no, you tell them where you could be found, Travis D. Holmes.
You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. Find my writing on Big Cat Country. We have the Sacks Havoc and Disruption or something like that. I forgot what I named it. BigCatCountry.com article that talks about why the Jacksonville Jaguars pass rush might hop off the page again this week. Maybe another multi-sack game. You should check that out. They were talking about some pressures, sacks, time to throw for the Arizona Cardinals. A few things maybe you might want to keep an eye on. We've been talking about it on the podcast, so I think you know where I'm going with this, but give it a read. I think it's fascinating. And yeah, for the most part, hit me up on all the socials. If you're listening to the pod on the audio side, please rate and review us. It helps us out tremendously. And if you're listening to us on the Duval Dive YouTube, please click that like button. Don't leave without clicking the like button. And maybe even comment on it after it's done, because, help us out. Let them know where you can be found, sir.
So, Travis, are you telling me that do you think a lot of sacks for the Jaguars are in the cards?
I think,
of course, I am Kyle Nass. Of course, I am Kyle Nass, student of the game. You can find me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter at the SOTG. Of course, find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with the Black and Gold banneret covering UCF football and basketball. I won't be doing it this weekend because I will be out of town, but make sure you check out my making the grade and explanation of what exactly you get when a team that has $40 million in spending against the lowest spending in a conference looks like. Of course, check out my work as well, covering the Orlando Magic and the Bolt Blitz Uncut podcast. Some very realistic conversations that could somehow randomly indict Jim Harbaugh for reasons for some of the struggles for the Chargers. I don't know. Make sure you check out Bolt Blitz Uncut so you can get those details. But Duval Devout, excellent work. Special thanks to Jaguars United and Jason Trent. You Duval divers were electric in the comments tonight. I'm not making that up. Do not put up the exaggeration alert, Travis, because they were on point tonight. Don't you even think about it. Keep your hand off the damn mouse. But yeah, for my personal champion, Travis C. Holmes, for all you guys in the comments, you Duval divers, you Duval Devout out there, and of course, for anybody else, of course, Jason Trent for coming in. This is Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.